All right, so what is Bitcoin? And if you're only here for the 10-second version, Bitcoin is digital scarcity. But if you're here for the slightly longer, this is my 5-minute what is Bitcoin? And maybe to start, it's interesting to note that this is a question I like to ask people a lot, whether they're Bitcoiners or crypto people. You know, whenever you ask people this question, what is Bitcoin? You often get a different answer, which is really interesting. And it's insightful because, Bitcoin as this decentralized network, nobody owns the decision on what it is, what does it mean for them. And so you get really insightful answers. And even what Bitcoin means today might be different to what Satoshi meant it. And that's okay. I mean, it's an organism, and it grows and develops over time. But yeah, here is my 5-minute version of what is Bitcoin. So the way I see it, it is the elegant combination of 3 attributes. Number 1, it is a digital protocol for exchanging and settling value on the internet. And yes, below the surface here, there are a little bit more details. So here, just touching on these points, right? First of all, it is a digital protocol. It's a piece of software that computers can run. Anybody can run this. And what that software allows us to do is to exchange and transfer value on the internet. So just like our normal currencies allow us to exchange and transfer value using the banking sector, using payments intermediaries and so on, Bitcoin allows us to transfer and settle value in a similar type of way. But the technology is obviously different behind the scenes. Bitcoin runs on the internet, so it also runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it allows payments to settle in finality in under an hour. Transaction times can vary. And it does that without the need for an intermediary. And it's also interesting to note that people have been trying to solve this problem for many years. When the internet first came along, people made the prediction that we would have a money of the internet. And Bitcoin solved that problem, right? It is a money that is fully native to the internet. But not only does Bitcoin allow us to pay and settle transactions, but the native unit, which is also called Bitcoin, you can kind of separate out here Bitcoin the network from Bitcoin the unit. So Bitcoin the unit is scarce, and that brings us on to the second attribute. Bitcoin is a digital, non-state commodity. So once again, we've got this word digital. But one of the key innovations really of Bitcoin is bringing digital scarcity. That's kind of what I said at the top of the video. It is the first advent of digital scarcity. Before Bitcoin, there was no digital scarcity. We can create, we can take files, we can take a picture, and we can send it to, 100 people, 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people. There's no scarcity in the digital realm. And Bitcoin created that. I won't get into all the technical details, but the key insight here is that it's costly to create new Bitcoins. There is this 21 million hard cap on Bitcoin supply. That was predetermined, and it's strongly protected by the network, and that network is distributed across the globe, so it's very difficult to change those rules, the consensus algorithm. There was a big, it was a history in Bitcoin in 2016, 2017, where we kind of proved that it's very difficult to make these changes. And with this attribute, sometimes it's useful to look towards gold for a comparison, because gold is also a non-state monetary commodity. It is scarce, it's difficult to create, it's not controlled by anybody in particular, it's not used in production process because it is this scarce commodity. And from an investment perspective, it has this characteristic of holding value over long periods of time. What I'm showing you here in the picture is just the gold price and divided by CPI. So it's kind of the real gold price. And yes, it's volatile. The price of gold is volatile, but it holds its value over long periods of time much better than fiat currencies, and sometimes even better than other financial assets. And Bitcoin has these same characteristics. It's also volatile, even more volatile than gold, but over long periods of time, it holds its value. So over any rolling 4-year period, Bitcoin's price change has always been positive. And this is, of course, very useful for people who want to protect their wealth over long periods of time, who are able to sit through the volatility over the short term. And then the third characteristic which combines a few of the ones that I've said before. Bitcoin is a independent system of property rights. So the current ownership of assets, it is enforced through centralized intermediaries like the banking sector or the legal infrastructure or the deeds office. And as an example, the title deed to your property, you need to go to the deeds office. If you want to confirm who owns your pension fund or your equities, you need to go to the custodian. If you want to confirm who owns a car, you go to the Department of Motor Vehicles, right? You go to these centralized intermediaries. Well, with Bitcoin, you don't need a centralized legal system or banking sector in order to enforce ownership. The rights are enforced by cryptography, and the transactions settle in with finality. And that has all sorts of consequences, and we can get onto those in other videos. But the key conclusion here is that Bitcoin is its own system of property rights, and it is kind of a singular source of monetary truth. And this is why some people would go as far as to say that Bitcoin could be a future reserve currency of the world, because there's this payments network. It is a scarce digital non-state monetary commodity, and we don't need any other intermediary in order to decide the truth on it. So it has massive potential as a financial and monetary network, potentially on which to base a future monetary regime. If any of this didn't make sense to you, please shoot through questions down below. There's obviously a lot of detail there, and I'm happy to go into that detail in future videos. Like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll chat soon. Thank you.